But I must add that it's only one piece. It's only the
Okay.
first piece. Very often, just that first piece can be enough to make changes. In order for permanent changes to be made and really
Mhm.
effective changes to be made that last, we need to. Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. I was trying to use what you were teaching Noah I was trying to apply that to my situation. I like
Good.
it.
How did that go for you?
Well, I think I wrote in regarding I'm facing a lawsuit and just thinking of attorneys it feels intimidating. And so I was like, oh, if I could picture them looking like clowns, it's
There
a
you
lot
go.
less intimidating.
Very
So yeah.
good. And the reason that works is because as we think of the stuff we're worried about or frustrated about, angry about, anxious about, those connections between neurons, of course, are producing stress chemicals. And then the conscious mind joins in and goes, oh, because of this and that, because we're reacting to those feelings. But
Right.
if it's like a funny thing, then the brain starts producing chemicals that feel funny, that feel good. And so we don't
Yeah.
have those feelings. And then consciously we have more chance of gaining control over those thoughts and the feelings.
Yeah, because they pop up in my head all the time. I'm always answering their questions. I don't know yet what they're going to ask. I have an idea, and then I'm always like, okay, this is how I'll answer. And I'm like, just stop. They're not here. You don't need to answer their questions right now.
There you go. There you go.
But,
Very good.
but picturing them ahead of time is ridiculous. It's really helpful. What I didn't
Yes.
understand was you briefly had him go back and think of something that makes him happy or secure, regard maybe his pet. So I didn't quite understand that piece. Was that to counter the annoyed feelings?
Yes. So again, because thoughts are connections between neurons, Noah and I established the unconscious part of his brain as a dog, that he
Mhm.
loves dogs, and we gave it a name. And then Stitch, the cartoon character, is with him all the time. So of course,
Mm.
because he knows consciously that that's not the case, but the unconscious part of his brain believes it. What we were doing there is making those neural connections as he thinks of Stitch and the dog, his
Mhm.
brain will produce feel good chemicals and stop with the stress chemicals. And then when we go back to thinking of the person that was annoying, it helps because we brought down those stress chemicals already.
We have like our hero or our secure
Right.
helper with us. So could I think of
That's
I like to think of legions of angels.
absolutely
Okay.
a good one, a very
Okay.
good one.
Like I
Yes,
got a
indeed.
team. I need a team.
That's it. And for everybody watching this as well, keep reminding yourself that you know consciously what reality is, but the unconscious part of your brain will absolutely believe anything because it can't use logic or reason and it can't judge
Mhm.
something as unrealistic. So imagining that you've got legions of angels behind you, even if, and of course you may well have, it depends on a person's beliefs, but even if it's just imagination,
Mhm.
the unconscious part of your brain doesn't know that, and that's why it works. Because as you connect those neurons of imagining those legions of angels with you, those neural connections are producing feel good chemicals instead of stress chemicals. And then, apart from anything else, it keeps your prefrontal cortex online, the cognitive thinking part of your brain, so that you will be able to think more clearly and strategically and come up with those answers to any questions that you need.
Right. And so, just on a technical basis, I'm trying to understand. So, just by imagining it, I'm suggesting to my subconscious because I'm always like, I feel like I can't reach my subconscious, but it's there. It's just below
Right. Well,
awareness,
and
right? So, I'm using my conscious mind to influence my subconscious. Is that what I'm doing?
so this is the way I tend to think of it, is that there are two parts to your brain. One of the reasons I started using the words unconscious part of your brain instead of subconscious is
Mhm.
because a lot of people have the impression that the subconscious is like a thing, like an entity or something like that.
Mhm.
And whether that is the case or not, what we're working with is the unconscious part of the brain. So it's the part of the brain that runs your breathing and all your
Mhm.
other organs, and that it's the part of your brain that enables you to ride a bicycle or do anything else that you don't have to think consciously. And that part of the brain is programmed according to your experiences, your previous experiences. So it's on automatic. Now, we can affect that part of the brain to a certain extent as long as it doesn't see the changes as dangerous. And
Mhm.
by
Mhm.
dangerous, it means changing it too much.
Gotcha.
So that part of the brain is designed to keep us the same in order to keep us safe. Because no matter how much we don't want what we have, that part of the brain can't use logical reason, and it's just designed to keep us the same because we're still alive. We may not be
Mhm.
happy, but we're still alive, and that's
Yeah.
its primary role, is to keep us
Right.
alive. As you think of the angels, rather than giving the unconscious part of your brain that instruction or direction or anything like that, it can do that, but what we're doing literally in the moment is just connecting neurons that are producing chemicals.
I see. I
And
see.
those chemicals create feelings and bring blood back to your organs and the unconscious part of your brain.
And
Everything
so,
else is a bonus.
yeah. And so rather than going, oh my gosh, these attorneys are trying to bully me, they can't even meet their claims, and freaking out and, oh, they're going to take, bankrupt me over this nonsense. I just go, oh, what a clown. Look at that suit he's wearing. Oh my God, his voice is silly. But I've got my angels too. I just do that kind
That's
of, and
spot
then
on.
purposely to stop the flood of stress chemicals
Correct.
before. Because I literally last month when I was supposed to give a deposition, which has graciously been not rescheduled. um,
Right.
my whole nervous system was dysregulated, and I had to, do all these things to calm myself down. So I'm learning now not to even entertain those thoughts. Right?
Very
Okay.
good. That's spot on, Monet.
Mhm.
But I must add that it's only one piece. It's only the
Okay.
first piece. So the second piece, and I didn't go into this with Noah, and the reason is just because when I said, does it remind you of anything else? He didn't have anything else that it reminded him
Right.
of. And also with children, of course, they've got fewer references that are forming these structures. So very
Yeah.
often, just that first piece can be enough to make changes. But
Mhm.
for the rest of us, for adults, we have more established structures of who we are and how the world works, our self-image and worldview. And in order for permanent changes to be made and really
Mhm.
effective changes to be made that last, we need to change those references from childhood.
Uh-huh.
So, what you've got there with the angels and the
Mhm.
funny performance from them,
Yes.
you can give them a feather boa and, have fun with it, make it as funny
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
What you've got there is a coping technique for in the moment
Mhm.
that you will need to establish those. So when you're not with them, practice
Yeah.
it, like I was saying, to know, establish it so that when you are with them, you've got those feel good chemicals instead of the stress chemicals. So that is
Mhm.
a technique for coping with that situation. Now
Okay.
we want to go back and change the original references that are triggering that response in the first place, that stress response in the first place. All right. We can work no content if you don't want to share detail. So I'm going to guide you through a little bit of the detective work. First of all, as you think of this situation and
Mhm.
these solicitors and whatever's happening, what feelings come up straight away?
It's a fear of the consequence or a fear of no justice.
Right. Very good. So the fear of the consequence, fear of no justice. Can you
Mhm.
feel that now, or can you remember how that feels?
Yeah, it's a constant low rumble in my world right now.
All right. Good
Yeah.
job. Good job, Monet. Okay. And now I want you to think back to your childhood. Is it familiar from your childhood? That feeling, does it bring anything to mind?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
do I
Very
can
good.
share. It has to do with feeling intimidated by my dad, who as a very young empath and he had great big emotions, just would scare me, even if he sneezed. So
Yes.
I can think of one specific incident that I think might be related.
Okay, very good, Monet. So that makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
And so think of that incident right now.
Mhm.
Okay. And I want you to start by putting your dad in the outfits you're putting the lawyers in.
Okay.
How does that
Okay.
feel?
Yeah.
Good job. Can you put a red nose on him? Can you give him funny hair?
Hmm.
Good job. And I want you to imagine him now with a feather boa. It's a pink feather boa, and
Okay.
he's doing a little dance with the feather boa. Can you imagine
Mhm.
that?
Yes.
Good. And what feelings are there as you watch that?
It's a little ridiculous because I can do that, but didn't have concern over my. Does that matter? Like the thing that gets me is he was worried about the car that my mother crashed and not about us. Does that?
Right. Okay. It is important, and we will address that. So,
Okay.
what we want to do is we want to end up with, so the final memory is going to be him in the outfit and he's playing the fool, he's being silly and funny. Okay. That's what
Okay.
we're going to end up with. Now, let's go to the incident with the car. And
Mhm.
I want you to see if you can give that little you a
Mhm.
magic wand
Okay.
and show her how to wave that magic wand and freeze everything. Everybody and everything is frozen. Your dad's frozen, your mum's frozen, everything's frozen. Can you imagine that?
Hmm.
Very good. And now, as you look at your dad, I want you to imagine that anxiety or that fear or that anger, whatever's inside him, whatever
Hmm.
that emotion is like a dark patch inside him, like a dark cloud. You can see it.
Hmm.
You got that?
Hmm.
Very good. And now I want you to imagine that little you waves the magic wand and it transforms that dark patch into a bright light.
Okay.
You got that? Good job.
Mhm.
And so now the dark patch dissipates, and now he's got this bright white light shining out of him. And it was as if he was under a curse, and you
Hmm.
have lifted the curse.
Okay.
Good. How does that feel?
That's good.
Good job.
Mhm.
Very good. Now I want you to wave the magic wand again and you unfreeze him. And what's his
Mhm.
reaction?
He's so concerned about us and tells us don't worry about the car. The car's not a big deal. It's just a car, and I'm so
Good.
glad you guys are safe.
Very good. And
Okay.
how does that feel for you?
That's good. That's yeah.
Good job. And of course, you can watch this recording again to establish this because you'll want to do repetition for it. So that's
Mhm.
what I call a stepping stone memory. And it's
Okay.
addressing one piece of data from the original event. And so now I want you to imagine that you do that and you're able to also wave the magic wand and the car is fixed. The car is perfect. You've undone
Oh,
whatever damage there is. Can you
okay.
imagine that? The little you has the ability to wave the magic wand and fix it. And I want you to
Okay.
see if you can imagine how impressed and grateful your parents are to you.
Oh, okay.
So that's a very specific piece of data that empowers that little you and
Hmm.
gives you that gratitude, that connection from your parents. How does that feel?
That's cool.
Good.
They've seen a
Very good.
miracle and they're amazed. Okay.
That's right. That's right. Yes. And they hug you and they say, "Oh, thank you so much.
Hmm.
That's amazing that you were able to do that. We're so grateful." Whatever
Uh-huh.
would feel good there. All
Okay.
right. Very good. And then I want you to imagine that instead of crashing the car, in fact, let's do this extra stepping stone. And I know there's a lot here, but you can get them in the recording. But an extra stepping stone is that was it your mum that fell asleep and crashed the
Uh-huh.
car? Okay.
Yes.
So before she falls asleep, you can see that she's going to fall asleep and
Mm.
you wake her or you get her attention. You go, "Mum, come, let's pull over."
Uh-huh.
And she goes, "Oh, thank you so much. Oh my goodness." And she pulls over and she has a sleep or whatever it is, and or has some coffee or whatever will get her to wake up. And then you drive home safely. So again, you had the power to prevent that event from happening.
Okay. So
Does
power
that
to
sound
prevent.
good?
Hmm.
Yeah, good job. So then there's that. And then let's make the final memory the scene we created with your dad in the funny outfit and doing funny things in that. Let's keep that as an extra reference generally for your dad. So your dad is generally like that. Okay. Now, this particular thing, the final memory that we want is that instead of crashing the car, your mum has won a brand new car. And when you get home, that's the big event that happens. So your dad's reaction, your mum comes home in this beautiful, what it doesn't matter what color or type of car, you can have whatever you think would feel good. Your dad is, oh, so we're replacing the anxiety, the anger, whatever the negative feelings are with excitement.
Oh, okay.
You see that? So, because we want to make sure that whatever emotions are there, the good emotions are heightened. So, with it just being, oh, we got home safely, that's okay, but it's not strong enough to override the negative, the stress chemicals.
Okay. So the only reference I have is my dad telling the story later and just berating my mom for being so dumb for falling asleep. So instead the story can be, oh my gosh, she won a car. She filled out a
That's
sweepstakes or something. Okay.
spot on,
Mhm.
spot on. Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. You're very welcome, Renee. So practice the stepping stone memories, so those earlier ones, and you can watch this recording again to help yourself. Hi, Monet. And I usually say play them 3 times in a row each, and make sure you've got the emotions there, and
Mhm.
then go to that final memory of your dad telling people how amazing your mum is for winning the car, and how
Okay.
excited and how it was a perfect car, and make it over the top with the fabulousness of the car. So
Okay.
it can be a Ferrari or whatever you think he would like, or whatever your brain would like for him,
Okay.
because it doesn't matter what he actually likes.
Right. Right. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Manesa. How do you feel now moving forward with those changes?
I think that's good. I do still think there is my just the more recent trauma from having been in my own car accident that's causing this lawsuit. So
Okay.
it's like I said in my write up that it's a big ball of yarn to
Yes,
untangle, but
yes.
the
But that's
early
okay.
memory is good.
Yeah, so that's okay. The thing is that this later incident with the car, it makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
When that happened, your brain referred to the traumatic experience with your dad being angry with your mother.
Right, right.
And so, although your conscious mind knows, oh yeah, having a car accident, that's more dangerous than my dad being upset with my mother, but to the unconscious part of your brain, the fact that your dad was angry with your mother was worse than a
Yeah,
car accident.
yeah. As a
So
little person, yes, I see that.
that's right. There'll be stronger stress chemicals connected to that. And then, of course, it's connected to the later incident. So by
Right.
changing those early references of your dad in general, change any other memories where he was scary or anything in the same sort of way. By changing that, then when you think about the recent accident,
Hmm.
there'll be lower levels of stress chemicals in your system.
Yeah,
And it'll be easier to get through that, get over
that makes
that.
sense. Thank you.
Good. And now just a quick check-in. Think of the lawyers with this case and what's there now.
I suppose I can talk to them now.
Good. There you go. Very
I'm gonna have to
good.
practice making them not so bullyish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing you can do as well, in addition to what we've done already, in
Mhm.
addition to that, keep reminding yourself that all of us, all adults, are actually children in adult bodies
Yeah,
because our coping skills, all our coping skills and mechanisms were created in childhood.
right,
So, including those lawyers. So,
right.
as you look at those lawyers, they're actually, you can see them, imagine seeing them as 5-year-olds.
Yeah, okay.
And whatever they say and whatever they do, recognize it's the 5-year-old inside them that is doing and saying that. They just happen to be wearing an adult costume.
Right.
All right. And then you can step into the adult role yourself as if you are dealing with children who are frightened or upset or
Mm-hmm.
misled or whatever. And that will give you the experience of being calm. And you know how if a child is throwing a tantrum, the calmer you are, and you go, I understand. It's terrible, but it's okay. You'll be all right. And you do that, and then eventually the child calms down.
Right.
You can have that feeling inside of you. And then
Yeah,
that will affect what you're saying and how you're dealing with them.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Good. You're very welcome, Monet. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome.